All right, I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me on this Friday night. This is the Chow Rule Show where you can ask any and all questions relating to nature, spirit, and commerce and the lights that govern all of those foundations. This is a beautiful Friday night, depending on where you are. The weather changes dramatically everywhere. And feel sorry for anybody who has lost anything through the hurricanes that have been going on. Florida looking like it's got pretty hurt. I mean, places are getting wiped off the map left and right. There's bodies and stuff, and it's a very terrible situation that is facing very large sectors of land. And a lot of people are very complacent where if it doesn't affect you directly or your loved ones directly, it's very easy to forget about those kinds of things that are going on elsewhere out in the world, especially since we're all in our own little isolated bubbles that have been created for us to kind of stay basically in the dark via, the media we consume and whatnot. And that's why I really love TikTok. It is a platform that does allow at times a lot of truth and news to be able to get blasted out to many, many people, whereas the public mainstream media is very heavily throttled down, and basically, you get to control what you create. So the people that created the medias get to control it from the top, and that's just is what it is. So I had an amazing week. Ended up going up in a hot air balloon. That was really fun. I don't think I've done it since I was a child, and I'm gonna tell you what, those things are huge. I got some great video of it. And believe it or not, the guy was telling me that those were the first people in flight. Well, the first things in flight, quote unquote, besides all the resets and mud floods and all that, were it was a goat, a chicken, and like a pigeon or something like that, and they sent them up in a balloon and wanted to know if they could survive or whatnot, and came back down. So those were the first actual animals that went up in the air. And then after that, they sent up champagne and hand wrote signatures and names on all of them. And then some guys went up with them, and they ended up toasting with the champagne, and that's a tradition. And the balloon that I went on, they continued that tradition. So I had a little bit of, I think it was orange juice with champagne or something. It was pretty good. But at first I thought it was too expensive because, everything's expensive, But then when I got into it, I was expecting to walk up and the balloon was filled up and we just hop in it and ride. But no, these people personally unrolled the balloon, filled it up. We helped them fill it up. They filled it up with air, forced air first, and then started blowing the hot air in it, and then got the balloon up. And I'm gonna tell you what, those things are massive, and it was a really cool experience. We got to go down into a valley, and we grabbed the tops of trees on the way down, and then went back up, and then we ended up landing in an airport. And on the radio, the people were like, "Thanks for the show," that was so cool. And I didn't know this, so the hot air balloons are classified as basically an aircraft, and you wouldn't think of it, but an air balloon is an aircraft, and they are federally regulated, and they're allowed to land anywhere. This guy was telling me he's landed in people's yards, and people come out with shotguns and stuff like that, and he ended up talking to the mayor of the town and stuff, and basically he's allowed by federal codes and statutes to land in anybody's backyard with a hot air balloon. And but it was a really cool experience. We went around sunset, and it took about an hour, but it was a really great experience. So I did that this week. That was pretty fun. And then my bachata dance class, they're celebrating like 7 years or something, so I didn't have to do any dancing. And I'm thanking everybody for joining. Please feel free to ask any and all questions. Normally it takes about 5 minutes to get warmed up, but I figured the first 5 minutes I'd just go ahead and put out all my diary information of stuff that I've been doing. I have been updating my website like crazy, so I don't know if all of y'all have joined or looked at my website yet on Nature, Spirit, and Commerce. The website is called Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life, and that is where I basically put my 13 years of studies and books and everything that I've studied and learned and put on there for y'all for free, for y'all to browse around at your leisure. And it's basically what I use as my foundations to put all the puzzle pieces together to get where I'm at, to be able to help others. And that is a very powerful position to be in. And having said that, I do consultations all the time for free. I answer people's DMs. I try to put out one video a week, go live once a week, amongst everything else. And I have this company that ends up contracting with me to do independent expert consultations. And when they first asked me to do consultations, they were like, how much do you charge per hour? And I'm like, I do this stuff for thousands of hours for free for everybody. I make videos for free. I made my website for free. I'm giving consultations, stuff that people would charge thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for. I do all this stuff for free. And they asked me, they were like, how much do you charge per hour? And I'm like, I don't charge usually, so I don't know, $20. And they were like, how about 300? I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. So they started off charging me $300, and I'm up to $400 an hour now. So these people are paying me $400 an hour for doing consultations on different things, and I'm about to broaden my subjects as far as what I can give consultations on. And the funny thing is, when I was younger, looking at all these job opportunities out there, it's like you have to have a degree and like 10 years of experience. Those are like the really high-paying jobs, and then. But the real good high-paying jobs I noticed were consultants, and I never thought that I would be sitting in a seat where I would be giving consultations to everybody, and I do it all day, all the time for free, like on here. For instance, you can ask any and all questions, and I'll do the best of my ability to guide you towards the proper path and light. But when somebody approached me for doing commercial real estate and stuff like that and wanted me to give consultations, like I said, I was like, I don't know, $20 an hour or something, just because it was commercial stuff, and for real estate. And they were, they bumped me up to 300. Now I'm at 400 an hour, and I'm about to, like I said, broaden my abilities, because they have me only for property management, but I'm gonna give them basically everything, because I have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different areas, and basically like civil site infrastructure work, basically automated robotics, and like on and on and on, doing like computer-aided drafting and stuff. And I feel like a very lucky individual who has had the ability to be able to study almost full-time outside of the public mainstream school system, or public full system is what we call it, and learn esoteric knowledge while being able to maintain employment enough to be able to pay for all the things that I have going on. And not a lot of people have that ability, or drive or effort. Typically this system is created where it keeps you blind in a box and barely able to survive and keep your head above water while operating a U.S. citizen that we're not taught about, that has 4 liens on it off the gate, and then everything you pay for has a tax attached to it on top of that. So it just ends up getting very monotonous and hard to basically swim. And on top of that, you have continuous sources feeding you, buy this, consume this, you have to have this to be happy. And like, none of these commercial entities out here care about you, the individual, except for maybe some of the small mom and pop shops, but they're getting gobbled up and swamped left and right by these huge corporations. For instance, I just listened again as I'm going through the thousands of videos that I've downloaded from TikTok over the last few years to put on my website. I've been updating, like I said, I've been updating my website continuously. So I'm continuously adding new content, new videos and everything. But what's cool is going through all the videos that I have downloaded over the years and starting to place them on my website. And I listened to this guy talking about how if BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard continue on the path that they are, by 2030 they will own 80% of all single-family homes, on top of owning 88% of the S&P 500s that are out there. So these corporations are gigantic. I mean, these are the big dogs. The people that are on these boards are basically running and controlling almost everything. And even I think is it Rothschild that said not the control everything or nothing, but give me the power of the currency, and it matters not what the government is. I don't remember who said that, but that is so true. And that's why it's very interesting when you look up the U.S. corporation, It says that it's a corporation for federal debt and it's located in the District of Columbia. And that's what basically the U.S. is. A corporation is for holding and transferring debt in the public because the public is bankrupt and only deals in fiat currency that is not backed by gold. So Midnights, have a great weekend, friend. God bless. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope all y'all have a great weekend too. Just for y'all's information, this live will be posted on YouTube. All of my social medias are linked on my profile. If you want to know when I'm going live, I tell my Telegram group 95% of the time when I'm going live, unless you subscribe to me, that's really the only way you're going to know that I'm going live or to be able to catch me, to ask any and all questions that you feel led to post on here, or you can DM me or email me. I have playlists that that I've created to help re-educate everybody. Now, granted, when I first started this, it was a little dry. I started finding my rhythm, recently, basically. I mean, from when I started years ago trying to post, I was kind of, wasn't doing that well. But now I think I've got a pretty good handle on how to make videos now. I mean, I could, of course, buy a more expensive camera and do more time on editing, but amongst all the other stuff I got going out there, oh my goodness, it takes a long time. All right, so Norm Longstaff. Security Exchange Act, Adverse Claim, Negotiable Instrument, UCC 3, UCC 8. What would you like to know about those codes? Because the UCC is copywritten, basically codes that was created by somebody else, and you can use those to bind corporations into basically, because all of the public entities that are out there operating are federally registered and basically governed and controlled by DC, and they are bound by general accounting practices, and you can get them all in headlocks through contractual obligations. My last video was kind of a quick one. I didn't put a whole lot of effort into it, and it is what it is. But I have a good video coming up in the works I think y'all are really going to like. I'm not saying that TikTok will allow it to go out to a lot of people, but I have fun doing this stuff because this is a passion of mine, being able to help people on a case-by-case basis. Canon law is UCC code. So canon law is ecclesiastical, if I'm not mistaken, and I wouldn't say you could in essence say that UCC is common law because it's common amongst all of the 50 states, but it is an international commercial code, and that is basically what is how the states want to govern interactions and commercial activities amongst each other. So I've never heard that canon law is UCC code. UCC is civil. Uniform Commercial Code is just a set of, it's like I said, it is a copywritten codes that are basically used to govern commercial activities in the public. You got to remember that the public is bankrupt and they're all bound by federal contracts and codes because they're all registered to the District of Columbia through the state that they're registered in, which is a corporate state. There is a Republican state that's operating in the background, but in the public, the bankrupt states, which is the state of, or the two-letter abbreviation states, those are the ones that are basically running on top of everything that everybody only understands and learns. UCC, I wouldn't say it's civil. Civilians is, that's kind of like, it's almost like you got federal, which is you got federal, which is the branches of the government and stuff like that operate on the public, and then you got civil life, which is still kind of publicly run, and you got to remember that the Emergency War Power Acts are put in perpetual motion since 1933, and they've been enacting basically emergency war powers upon all U.S. citizens since 1933, and every U.S. president has had to declare a state of national emergency in order to perpetuate that. So if you look that up, since 1933, every single president has declared a state of national emergency, and that is what how the public operates. And what's wild is when you start learning the truth and you're able to open your eyes and see everything. It's crazy. The public is bankrupt, uneducated, and very crazy. But what's cool about it is they are bound by codes, policies, and statutes that you can call upon to box them in and bind them in, including all the corporations and stuff. Josh, let me go back some. Did I miss a question? Nope. All right, Josh, is there a way to get a UCC lien against me removed without paying it? It depends on what kind of lien it's on. So by you mean your U.S. citizen. So the U.S. citizen is a trust, it's a public trust. It's classified as an individual trust by the IRS. And it depends on what the UCC lien is for, but there's you can easily Google it and see the different ways to get out of it. But typically, you have to get you can get the creditor into a contractual obligation and then basically force them to remove it by saying it's fraudulent once you get them into an agreement. But it does kind of depend on what the UCC lien is about and for, and if it's on your U.S. citizen and what all it's basically entailing. But you can definitely, by all means, DM me and I can give you some more guidance. Norm Longstaff, Black's Law 4th, first page, Bar Department Regulations. I would have to Bar Department are you talking about like the British Accreditation Registry Department regulations? Because the attorneys themselves, they are basically British agents, and if you look into the Constitution and the first 13th Article and Amendment, which basically said that no titles of nobility, the TONA Act, no titles of nobility shall be granted by the United States. So that alone lets you know that the United States did not grant that title of nobility. An attorney is a title of nobility that was granted from Britain, and that's where a lot of the U.S. laws have came from, and we basically incorporated them into our judicial systems and stuff. And all the judges are trained in UCC code. I mean, they have to be, and they also basically learn what quote unquote sovereign citizens, how they'll act in the public and same things they can say to be prepared for just in case anybody tries to come at them that is cocky or half learned or whatever, and they have all kinds of tricks and traps. But the fourth page, I would have to look that up. Right now, I don't know what the Bar Department regulations is having to do with anything. I mean, are you asking a question about it? Anthony T, is contract law not civil, common law procedural? All right, so Anthony, contracts like the human. Who just joined my team? Dennis, thank you so much for the heart. Your gifts will be used to help others. Much appreciated. So the whole human experience is the continued fulfillment of contracts, okay? And contracts start verbally. Well, they start mentally, but they emanate out, so everybody can hear them on a stronger level, even though our thoughts and emotions can emanate out in the ether. And you can actually control your contracts through your thoughts. But contracts typically start verbally, and then the piece of paper is the memorialization of what transpired thereof between the contracts. Everything that you say is an offer. Everything that like a judge says, every piece of paper that you get's an offer. Everything is an offer, and everything is contracts. And how you interact with others is basically determines everything. That's commercial activities is everything, but they have to have different bodies, and that's where the natural body and the spiritual body come into play. And believe it or not, the spiritual body is much more powerful, although it's harder to sense if you're not trained or learned, because we're all operating in a very low vibration and frequency down here in the natural light, basically walking around as animals that think we're bound to this natural temporary body. But common law is basically agreed upon written or unwritten laws that basically can't be changed or modified, that have already been honored in certain court cases, and basically they're unbreakable. They are very powerful, but equity is the highest form of law. Equity is the consciousness and where everything emanates from. It's the spirit. Equity is the spirit of the law, and it is the highest form because it is a spiritual consciousness, case by case basis. Just like when y'all are coming on here, or everything you do every single day is basically equity, unless you start trying to deal or invoke in different types of laws. You start trying to deal in the Bible. The creators continuously warn about being bound by the written law. Everybody loves to be bound by and comforted by all the guidelines and rails of being boxed into those different laws, but engraven images. But that's why the hardest thing to embody is that equity is the conscious thought of doing righteous judgment on case-by-case basis. And that's what I do here for this hour. I set aside a time to basically help everybody on a case-by-case basis in equity the best that I can. So I wouldn't say that contract law is civil and common law is procedural. So Norm Longstaff, Canon Law Article 3, SB's judges are fiduciaries. Yeah, that's one of their roles. They're administrators. They are a neutral third party. However, they have sworn an oath to uphold the public bankrupt system, okay, in the Constitution, which can be suspended to enemies. And that's why you always want to come from peace and love. And I have people saying, oh, no, you got to be a belligerent. That's why I made that video to basically to elaborate and bring some elucidation to that one video that I made a long time ago. But, yeah, being a fiduciary, they can be. And they can also be the administrators of your trust account if you basically get under their jurisdiction or don't know how to handle yourself or bring your own law in. And that's what happens to 99.9% of the people is they have no clue what they're doing, and they try to come in there and say, oh, I'm sovereign, oh, or they come in and be belligerent or even making statements is putting yourself in a position to be a belligerent. You want to ask questions. And I'm getting ready to make a video on conditional acceptance because that is one of the most important things to embody. And I actually bought an outfit. I bought an outfit for the video. I think y'all are going to get a kick out of it. It's going to be some fun. I enjoy making videos, Trust me, it takes me 5-6 hours to make a video, and sometimes I'll get 150, 200, 300 likes. And, I think I messed up a little bit by talking about how bad YouTube throttles me down, because this is like the ultimate pinnacle of being throttled down. I'll post this live on YouTube, and it'll go out now to 5 people. It was originally going out to like 9 or 10, and then on my last live, I talked about how bad YouTube is, and then they took like half of the views that I would have seen. So now I'm down to 5 people. So if you guys want to join the 5 people that will see this live recap on YouTube, feel free. I've posted hundreds of videos, and YouTube originally was sending out to like 20 people or so, and now I'm down to 5. They won't put my stuff out anywhere. It's like they found a way to basically ban you without banning you. Anthony, Trading with the Enemy Act. Yes, Trading with the Enemy Act is a very important code. I think it's USC 15. I think it's the chapter 50 or 50. It's chapter 50. And there's a lot of remedies that can be had by looking at what the enemy is, because the U.S. citizen has been classified as an enemy since 1933 with the update of the Trading with the Enemy Act. They classified, they said that the U.S. is bankrupt, and then they classified all U.S. citizens. They amended the Trading with the Enemy Act to include U.S. citizens who had gold, quote unquote. And the funny thing is that us humans, we all have gold in us. It's one of the elements. Josh, yes, Did you ask a question, Josh? That's where to get UCC. Oh, yeah. So DM me, Josh, on the UCC thing, and I can help you as far as trying to understand what had happened. So it depends on what kind of contractual obligations that you have put the U.S. citizen out for, and as long as there's not like, I'm not out here trying to help people that harm others or borrow a whole bunch of money, get into debt, and then try to just squash it without trying to learn stuff. And the way that I teach people is I give you good guidance, I give you the sources, and you have to put in the work. It's not that I can't help somebody hold their hand, do all the paperwork for them and all that. It's not about that. It's because even if I did that and you get confronted, because they're not going to confront me. They're not going to come knocking on the door for me, because they already know I know how to handle my stuff. If they come to you and they ask if that's your signature, if this is your contract, or you have to go to court or whatever, and you have no clue what you're doing, then all the paperwork is fruitless. You can have the perfect airtight process. And, if you even lean back onto what that guy, the Supreme Court Justice said, that even the educated layman is very unschooled in the science of law, and if they're presented with an indictment, whether it's good or bad, they have no clue. They need the guiding hand of counsel upon every step, or they face incrimination against basically evidence that could be hearsay or inadmissible, because they don't know how to establish their justice, even if they have a perfect one to get out of the situation. It's because we're not trained in this stuff. And that's why I try to tell you need to take some time and start to understand. Norm Longstaff, you're in Canada. We have a Code 96 on the remittance voucher. Yeah, so I talked to somebody for over an hour, and Canadian law is almost like eye to eye, neck to neck with the U.S. stuff. I don't know all the U.S. or the Canadian codes and stuff, but we were sitting there going through stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, the UCC is just like this," and we were talking about the USC, and he's like, "Yeah, the USC is just like this," and we were talking about the Republic, we were talking about the public, we were talking about federal, we were talking about all kinds of stuff in different laws and jurisdictions, and it was like there was a mirrored not mirrored, but it was just kind of like the same stuff is going on all over the world. And for instance, like I've started off saying earlier, is if you control the currency, it doesn't matter what government is in place, right? So right now, the Federal Reserve is the basic world reserve currency. Oh, I gotta scroll down on some of these questions. All right, Norm, 1688 Bill of Rights, 70 years later, Declaration of Independence. Yeah, so there was the Declaration of Independence. Everybody, celebrates that was the day that the U.S. got independence, but that's not actually true. That's when they declared it, but it wasn't until the king allowed them to, by basically acknowledging them, that they actually gained independence, which was on the Paris Peace Treaty. And in the Paris Peace Treaty, the king retained two positions for himself: Arch Treasurer and Prince Elector. And from there, that's basically the truth of the foundation. And there was two different classes of people: those that still wanted to owe allegiance to the king, and those that basically wanted independence from him. But you cannot secede from as an indentured trustee or servant while owing in debt. And that's what the U.S. tried to do. They basically used the king's funds for all of their endeavors. They used all the ships, all the king's money for logs and basically cotton and sugar and animals and all that to build the colonies, and then basically didn't like the rules that he was making, and then tried to just say, screw you, we're doing our own thing. And that's why the war broke out. And basically the king allowed them, the people that wanted independence, to be free from him, but they still had to collect taxes and monies due that the colony still owed, that the king paid everything for. And that's where the tax system basically continued on. I mean, the king was taxing them anyway. He was trying to tax them for every piece of paper that they were using. And I mean, that is a bit nuts, but it's just like anything. If you slowly cook a frog or boil a frog, it takes time, and they just had enough. 60. All right, Anthony. Thought attorneys were esquires of a sovereign principal. No, so attorney is an esquire. That's the title of nobility that I'm talking about, an esquire. An esquire is a British accredited. It's a bar agent. It's a British accreditation registered agent whose job is to attorn you back to the public. Their first and foremost duty is to the court, then to the public, and then to the client. The client is the last. And basically, attorneys can only represent imbeciles, infants, and wards of the court. And basically, so if you have an attorney, now I say that, but there's always pros and cons to everything. You will get, if you're not very well adversed in private administrative procedures or administrative procedure acts or none of that stuff, or postal regulations, or how to get somebody into contract and through tacit acquiescence and jurisdiction, all that stuff, and like you get hurt and you use an attorney, you'll get 400%. People that use an attorney for like injury get 400% more in return than they would if they just try to do something on their own. And that does not include people that are very well versed in private administrative procedures. So yeah, I'm talking about like your average person. So there are times, it's a school of law, and each attorney has their own little section of stuff that they are experts in, and you can use their paperwork just like they can use their paperwork. It's just up to you on what your skill and ability is and what kind of battles you want to face. That at the end of the day, that's ultimately what everything boils down to, is basically what you got to pick your battles. That's your most important thing is your come from. Starlight Artesian. Hey, I can stay long, but want to say hi. Hi, Starlight. Thanks for joining. Norm, Black's Law, Freeman, Contract are adverse claim security intermediaries. So Black's Law of the Dead, basically what attorneys use, Norm. And I'll tell you this, you can study UCC codes, you can study dictionaries, you can study laws. Those are all great and stuff, but you can spend the rest of your life studying that stuff, and they will continue to make new ones, and they will continue to make and find different ways to box in people that try to poke their head out and go different ways. Or you can try to embody equity, and equity is the spirit of law, and equity is where basically you can create your own law through your own judicial conscience and your own thoughts and volition. You are the ultimate authority, sovereign, that can basically shape your reality through the contracts that you make and keep on a day-by-day basis. So all these codes, the only reason to know any codes is if you want to bind a corporation into something, okay? Other than that, I would say don't spend the rest of your life studying UCC code, because there's millions of them, you know, and public policies and statutes and stuff, and they will continue to make new and new ones. You want to learn what trust is, you want to learn what equity is. Those are like the highest forms. Everything's in trust, but the public can't handle trust. And if you try to talk about trust in the public, especially in front of a judge, they're going to be upset, because the public can't handle those kinds of assets. And if anybody's around you, and I'm not talking about the bailiff or the clerk or something like that, I'm talking about the sheep. If there's sheep behind you and you start talking about public trust or administering the trust, the U.S. citizen trust, the judge is going to be upset, because his oath and office is to the public, and you'll be upsetting the balance of harmony. You can get private remedy and relief with the judge, one-on-one and equity on a case-by-case basis. But if you start trying to talk about those assets in the public, you will upset him, because his job is to the public and to keep the public system in check, which keeps everybody in lock. And it's for a reason, because if you want to take the time, knowledge, or time and dedication to learn all this stuff, you'll understand that you're not bound by any of that stuff. You can create your own law. But a lot of the people around you, you know, they'll go crazy. They'll just start, you know, they can't handle it. So that's basically how the system's set up and play on a very, very, very high level. It's somewhat harmonious. Anthony T, yeah, a heart-to-heart or Acadare. You can DM me if you want to, Anthony. I give lawful advice. I don't give legal advice. I give lawful guidance on, like, to anybody that wants to DM me. So feel free to reach out to me at any time. You can email me. You can call me on my website. You can reach me in all kinds of different ways. Anthony, your actions of right or wrong are judged by the perception of the collective unknown to you. Common. Yes. So basically, we all have our own perception of what is right and what is wrong. And even in the Bible, it says, "Thou shalt not kill." And then, you turn around and the creators say, they're sending armies out to kill people. Or, but people love being bound by the law. People love being bound by graven images. People love having those not to have to think. And the truth is, I've helped thousands of people, and people don't want to be responsible. They hate being confronted. They want to take the path of least resistance. They want to do very little unless there's a fire under their foot, and then that makes people jump. But the truth is that we're in the situation we're in because people don't want to be basically responsible. All right, Norm, UCC, the Adverse Claim Security, Constitution, Black's Law 6. Thanks for your awesomeness. Yeah, no problem, Norm. Thanks for your coming on here. Starlight, can you remind me which one is about the belligerent so I can share it? Yeah, it's my longest video, Starlight. It is, I think it's like 3 videos ago, and it is called, oh my goodness, what is it called? Oh, it's Misinformation Part 4. That's where I slammed down the 4 of Hearts. I was thinking about doing a 4 of Spades or something, but I was like, no, coming from love, baby. Booyah! Threw down that hearts. But yeah, that was the longest video I made because of the guy that posted a 20-minute video trying to bash me, looking terrible throughout that whole thing. And then I think the funniest comment I got was that he was trying to say that I was down talking this guy. I didn't down talk him at all the whole time. And this guy spent 20 minutes saying that I don't know nothing. It's garbage. This is crazy. Blah blah blah. Because he's trying to sell a product. Now I'm not selling anything. I'm just doing this for fun to enlighten the unified conscience. Because basically helping y'all is helping me. We're all in this together. Norm Longstaff. I was up to 300 views an hour. Now I'm shadow banned 8 views a day. Yeah, that's kind of what happens. I don't know about if you're talking about YouTube. And TikTok's kind of wishy-washy. Like, so it's like every once in a while they'll let one of my videos go out to kind of like it used to. Back, I'm talking, almost a year ago, my stuff was going out to 80, 90, 100, 200,000 people. Easy. I have to do no effort. I have to do no edits. I can just sit there and talk for a minute. Boom, post it, blast it, loved it. Now I will be lucky to get 200 likes on a video, right? Yeah, I mean, and I can put as much effort or time as I want in it. It just is what it is. Norm Longstaff, first bankruptcy. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of bankruptcy. Anthony T, you got a published record to validate the update alleged to the Trading with the Enemy Act. So what I talk about, one of the paths that I talk about, Anthony, is something called status and standing. Okay, you're not a U.S. citizen. You never were, and you're basically Chelsea. Welcome. Thanks for the heart puff. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Um, you can send out a status document to basically say, I'm not party to, none of us are party to the Constitution. None of us signed that contract. Public servants have sworn an oath to uphold that kind of stuff, and that's basically what you can invoke on them as long as you're at peace and coming from love and not a belligerent coming, from a position of war. Because the U.S. is already in a perpetual state of emergency, invoking emergency war powers. So when you got two enemies battling and stuff like that, from all of my studies, coming from peace and love is ultimately always the best, and equity. Coming from love and equity. But the paths that I kind of teach are status and standing. You basically create a status document, and then you can send that out to some of the people, any of these large corporations or representatives or principals that you want to have acknowledgement of who you are, the spirit inside the flesh body frame. That is basically, walking around and doing commercial activities. Anthony T. Veronica, my sweet moderator, coming in hot with the roses. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining on. All right, where are we at? Anthony, disregard. I should be able to source that. Okay. Norm Longstaff, second bankruptcy. Okay, that's cool. Is this for the U.S., Norm, you're talking about? Third bankruptcy? Because they've gone through, it's gone through different cycles. I have a video on the true history of the U.S., and it talks about how basically the U.S. has always been bankrupt. It's always been, the Constitution, if you look up what a constitutor is, it is one who passes debt on to another. And that's basically what the forming, the Articles of Confederation, the Charter, and the formation of the Constitution, making the pact for the United States, is basically a corporation to hold and transfer debt and to continue to funnel money to the crown, basically the King of England or Queen or whoever. I don't know even what's going on over there anymore. It's hard to. There's so much stuff going on. It's hard to grasp anymore. Stuff's happening really fast and really quick all over the place. Anthony, it's a safety measure and auto protect to prevent implosion of public monies. That's interesting. Norm, that's a lot of bankruptcies going on, man. PPSA. Okay, that's the Canadian equivalent. UCC location of debt, United States. Yes, located in the District of Columbia. Located in Canada? Canada? I've never heard that. United States is located in the District of Columbia, located in Canada. Yeah, I've never heard that. I've heard that Canada. Russell Massagill, thank you for the rose. Much appreciated. Your gifts will be used to help others by promoting content and education and helping fund the website and the works that I do to try to enlighten everybody. Russell, thank you so much for all these roses. Norm Longstaff, Maxim of Law, Rex, the king cannot levy his subjects. Black's Law. Yeah, well, so, the U.S. citizens or citizens wherever, if you got a birth certificate and a tax identification number, that is a corporation. And if it's from a corporation country that is basically where the world reserve currency is the Federal Reserve note, which is a bankrupt corporation, it's operating pretty much all in the same manner. Of course, there are some little codes and statutes and policies that are a little different here and there, but on a general high level, it's operating all in the same way. A U.S. citizen is a franchise, is a fractal of the U.S., which is a bankrupt corporation, and the U.S. citizen is dealing in bankrupt, and they can't hold titles. They're enemies and can't hold assets or titles. That's what a U.S. citizen is, and that's kind of why I promote or always talk about doing status and standing, because you, the human or the spirit animating this human experience, is able to hold true title to objects and basically create your own law, because you are a fractal of the Creator. You are a sovereign on this earth. You are to embody what nature, spirit, and commerce means to be able to govern and take control of land, air, and water. It's basically all up to you on your past. We're all different parts of the same body. And even today, I was thinking, because I was going through all my videos, and even though we're all parts of the same body, one person might be a finger, one might be an arm, one might be a mouth, one might be eyes, but within that body, you got to think sometimes there are like cancerous or tumorous things, and there are people and that are out there trying to do bad and trying to do harm and stuff like that, and your body actually has defense mechanisms to try to combat that. And if you look at back in the Hebrew book of King James, or one of the versions, there's many of them, but the book of Hebrews, I like using the actual Hebrew translation of it, but they explain how basically the true temple is your body, and what was shown to Moses out in the desert is a simulation of what a human is, and you're supposed to sacrifice yourself daily to the creators. That's how you start your walk, and that's it's a very cool thing to learn when you start being able to grasp the natural and spiritual interpretations of the Bible. Norm Longstaff, maximum law, Rex, the king cannot levy. Yeah, so U.S. citizen is it's kind of a citizen is analogous to subject. Okay, so if you're talking about U.S. citizen, a citizen is analogous to a subject. Veronica, hi there. Hey, sorry it's taking me so long to get down there. True Seeker, I've never seen anything that verifies that BAR stands for British Credit. All you gotta do is Google it, and then on top of that, True Seeker, all you have to do is look at what the Constitution says in the first 13th article and amendment, which says that the United States cannot grant a title of nobility, and an esquire is a title of nobility. So if the U.S. did not grant it, then who granted it? The attorney is a British agent, because all of the laws and all the stuff was brought over here from London. Virginia, the Virginia Corporation of London was the first basically corporation that came over here, and that's how it all started. It's all companies, it's all corporations, but all of the law and stuff was brought over here from Britain, and then you can trace it back to Rome and all that other stuff. Bill, my insurance is trying to find a way to deny my claim. Our family lost everything in fire. So how are they trying to deny your insurance claim? Is there a clause in the claim? Insurance people are very sneaky. They are very, very good at trying to get you to. I've been in a car accident, and I'm still in the car accident, and the adjusters are trying to get me to sign something, and I ended up looking at it as basically saying like I'm gonna take a settlement outside of court. I'm not gonna sue them and all this stuff, and I'm like the police are still around, and the accident's still going on, and there's freaking adjusters out here trying to get me to sign away my rights to be able to sue if or something. Like, it's crazy. But some insurance, it's a Ponzi scheme. It is basically I think I started with the Lloyd's. Is it Lloyd's of London, where they were making bets on whether or not ships could make it across the waters and stuff. I think it's kind of where that insurance stuff started from. But anyway, yeah, you can DM me. I can help you. I don't know if you're trying to. You filled out a Form 56 and have a trust set up now. I'm still learning. Yeah, so that's kind of depends on what you're trying to do. That's somewhat, it sounds kind of old school. 1215 Magna Carta, the beginning of the statutes from 700 BC. British person, place, thanks. Second, yeah, I've read some of that stuff too, Norm. Some of the Magna Carta. That is, I think the Magna Carta, if I'm not mistaken, is where they actually had the king and basically had like a sword to his throat and was like, sign this. So he, everybody wants to sign on, under threat and coercion and force and whatever. That dude, that king was signed under threat and coercion and under duress. He had a sword to his neck and was like, basically, if you don't sign this, we're going to kill you. So he didn't have much of an option, except for under international commercial law, you have 3 days to rescind your signature on a contract. So he could have done that. He could have literally signed it and been like, all right, cool, yeah, y'all got it, and then somehow done something within 3 days. And I don't know if that happened or not. Back then, a lot of people were very, very learned in commercial law. They understood the ins and outs. They had the knowledge of kings, but everybody was dirt poor. Now everybody's dirt poor and has no knowledge. And it's a lot different now. People were able to speak very eloquently and able to understand a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, simple basics of contract law and trust law and how real estate and property and mortgages and deeds of transfer and all that stuff. A lot of them couldn't read and write, but they did have a lot of good knowledge. Bill, Veronica, thank you for putting my website on here, Anointed Foundation. Again, I have put a lot of work over the last few days of putting up hundreds and hundreds of videos that I've downloaded. I wish I didn't allow it to build up to 1,000 videos that I saved from TikTok. A lot of them have been banned. A lot of them have gotten removed. And when I find good, esoteric, like healthy knowledge, I do my best to save it and archive it, and then eventually I'll post it on my website. Anthony, common law, British commerce, us, use, a legal, civil law, American people law. I haven't seen that. If you've got any information or like a book or something you want to share, that would be neat. Norm Longstaff, in Canada, call CRA, order remittance vouchers with code 96 means remittance bills of Exchange Act. Yeah, there are so many different codes and policies for governing the commercial activities of banking institutes. It's really good to get a good foundation of an old banking book or banking manual and understand how banking works. I mean, the post office is a banking system. We're all banks, and our bodies are banks, our brains are banks. We take in energy. You can send out energy. Everything's about basically consuming and putting out, emanating energy continuously. Equity does require competence, Anthony. Absolutely. Veronica, thank you for saying everybody tap the thing. Norm, Code 96 is an act to codify law relating to bills of exchange, checks, and promissory notes. Awesome. Article 4, full faith and credits. So, I recently posted about that as all the states have to honor all the public acts and procedures of any other state, as long as it doesn't conflict with their codes and policies and statutes. Norm Longstaff, Article 10, amendments bill of credit, but gold and silver in 1933 abrogate the gold clause. Yeah, 1933 is when kind of everything switched, and that's what the Wizard of Oz was about. Anthony T, appreciate the offer of assistance. Absolutely. I'm here to help everybody on a case-by-case continuously, and equity. That's the best I can do. Oh, somebody just joined my team. Veronica. There's no way you just joined my team, Veronica. Oh, I just sent a heart. I thought it was like when I got that heart, it meant somebody joined my team. Guys, this live video will be on YouTube. The audio will be in my Telegram group. If you want to know when I'm going live, you have to join my Telegram group or subscribe to me. That's the only two ways I know of to know, because TikTok usually won't tell people when I'm going live. I have created playlists to help re-educate you. I have an entire website dedicated to auxiliary information to help you on your path. Guys, thank you for all these gifts. Again, I appreciate it so much. Thanks for coming out here this Friday to help join everybody in this enlightening session. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, my goodness. Color of Law. All right, I had to scroll back some. Michael Evans, thank you for all you do. No problem. It's fun. I enjoy this. I really do. And I only spend an hour in here because my throat starts getting tired from talking so much because I talk my head off. Chelsea, hey, how you doing? Charus, thanks for coming out. Much love to you too, Starlight. Norm Longstaff, status means statute. 1066. I have never heard that. Now, there are multiple definitions for almost anything, okay? And you can find... A lot of times you can find definitions of things to support your position, but status is statute. Status to me, the definition that I've always learned about is basically the political allegiance or a religious or sociological usufruct that you want to interface in the public with, out there in the world, out there with your body. The status that you claim and you can pick. I haven't heard that it's a statute. Now, when you put it in writing, then it is an engraved image, but it is more easily enforceable to people. But again, that's what I always tell everybody. It doesn't matter how much paperwork you do or how much ability you have to draft stuff. If you don't know and come from love and peace and understanding and embody all this stuff, if you try to go in front of a judge, you can send him any paperwork you want. He's going to test you, and if he can get you under his jurisdiction and wipe the floor with you, it's irrelevant what kind of paperwork you've done. Same thing with a law enforcement policy enforcer. If they confront you and you don't know how to handle yourself or have done the proper due diligence and understanding what it is you're engaging in, again, you got to pick your battles and understand what you're getting involved in. But status, I haven't heard that status means statute, but you can make statutes in your status declaration if you want. Zenny V. Wells, whatever happened to us using this to pay bills? That's how I was introduced to it. So when I talk, I have videos on discharging debt. The best method that I know of is getting someone in a contractual obligation in order to squash it. That's one way. Another way is doing it through trust, okay? Because everything's in trust. You do a grantee acceptance on any commercial offer, and then you get a trustee to settle, and close that account, and it's enforceable. But you have to understand what procedures are. Yeah, and if you're going to start using public policy codes and statutes, you need to understand what you're doing when you're doing that, trying to bind somebody or a corporation into that stuff. And then a lot of people will teach you to start doing CFR stamps and stuff like that, but U.S. citizens or the authorized representative of the U.S. citizen citizen, which we are, is typically not authorized to do certain things. So as an authorized, which authorized means you were granted authority because you're using someone else's property. So the U.S. citizen was created by the state. It is their property, and you are authorized by them to use it, and you're allowed to do a lot of things as the authorized representative for their property. And when a lot of these people are out here talking and teaching and preaching about these things that you can do, you got to be very careful, because if it sounds easy, typically it ain't right out here in this game. Okay, the people that created this system and put misinformation out and basically blind us all is very, very tricky, slippery slope that's full of traps, and you got to be careful and learned before you start hopping on things, or you'll get your lights cut off, or you'll find yourself getting under a federal investigation, or put on a terrorist watch list, or whatever, or spending money paying somebody thousands of dollars for something that isn't even going to help you or is relevant. So just be careful, take your time. Make baby steps. You can crip walk, you can dance, you can I don't suggest anybody in running, because if you run, it's gonna hurt when you fall, because we're all gonna fall. That's why it's just like baby steps. Anthony T, you are whoever you say you are. Question is, where have you said it? Absolutely. I have established my standing on every major sovereign entity superpower on Earth, including London, Vatican, D.C., state, local, federal, Social Security Administration, stuff like that. So that's where my status is going. I don't know about y'all, what y'all have done, but for as far as me, I can enforce that anywhere. And I've recorded in a Supreme Court. No, not Supreme Court, a Superior Court. So my status is also laid down in a Superior Court. So that's what I have embodied and come from and teach, is basically you can enforce paper a lot easier, especially if you understand what the public can see, as far as what is not an exception, or what is an exception to the hearsay, because according to the courts, anything, and I say courts even though one of the definitions of court is wherever a sovereign is, but the public court system with the judges and stuff, anything that is done outside of a public courtroom is considered hearsay. So doing an exception to the hearsay, which is how I teach doing my status and standing documents and stuff, is one of those ways to be able to enforce what your position is for who you are and say you are. Veronica, let's talk about the weather. I have to be careful. They when I started talking about the chem TRALIS, they wanted to ban me. I have known for a very long time that they can steer hurricanes. They've been seeding them and clouding them and controlling them and manipulating them and pumping lots of massive amounts of microwave energy into them to be able to create high and low pressure systems. I studied that for years, on how they can manipulate and control that. And it's hard to tell what is man-made or what is natural to a certain degree, unless you can watch the Doppler radars and stuff like that. But yeah, the weather's really bad. And I started off, if you actually listen to the beginning of this call or this live, I was telling everybody I'm sorry for anybody who's lost anything through these hurricanes, because there's places that have been wiped off the map. And if it's not happening to you, typically most people just they breeze right by it. But there's a lot. There will always be poor people. There will always be death. There will always be famine and plagues and earthquakes and sadness. And it is a part of this natural temporary realm. It is what it is. There's a yin and a yang, a positive, a life and a death, a birth and all that. So the weather where I'm at is kind of decent. It's starting to cool off some. But I'm going to be changing the weather in I think next month. I'm thinking about traveling out of the country to somewhere warmer, just for a little bit, like 5 days. Be like a real short, quick one. Norm, all bankruptcies are Hudson Bay Company Corporation, United Kingdom, 1215 lexicon. What's funny is a long time ago I learned that whenever a citizen is filing for bankruptcy, it's actually a fraudulent claim, because they have massive amounts of wealth in the Social Security on the public and private side. And whenever you put that tax identification number on the bankruptcy, you're kind of committing fraud to an extent, because the U.S. citizen does have assets in the private, even though the it's so funny. It's such a scam system. The U.S. is bankrupt, and then for a citizen to file bankruptcy, if you have Federal Reserve notes, you're bankrupt. Because you're dealing in Federal Reserve notes that are backed by a promise to pay one day that is a bankrupt entity's property, or obligation of the bankrupt entity. Michael Evan, I've been thinking about registering myself and my children as foreign agents so my kids can't be DR. I think we're my kids in ISs. Oh, no, drafting in the military. I want to be real. I think a lot of this stuff depends on. I have never been. I've never registered to vote, and they have never asked me to a jury trial. I wish they would one day, just so I could find different ways to get out of it. But I think they use, when you register to vote, they use that for a lot of things. But as far as getting drafted, it depends on what your age is and ability. But there's different ways. There's ways out of everything. It just depends on what it is. They do and can get jurisdiction over the citizen if you grant it and convey it. You can just give them your birth certificate and say, here's your draft. Take this. Anthony, legal incompetent, a status required to protect the liberty of the American Spirit Auto Project. Speaking of definitions, liberty is granted leave off of a ship, off of a vessel. One of those definitions. Thanks for pinning a comment, moderator. Beautiful moderator. Truth Seeker. The Crown, not the same as the royal family. The Crown is the City of London's families. Yeah, so the Crown is actually a corporation soul, and that is a very powerful entity that I use, that I created. And it's a sovereign entity, and it is as powerful as a municipal government. And the Crown, that's what that is. And when the U.S. is funneling money through I think the headquarters is through a trust fund in Puerto Rico to the Crown, like it's always been, because the king originally paid for everything that the settlers did anyway over here. It's all funneling money to the Crown, or parts of it to the creditors of the U.S. I mean, I even posted that not one penny of anybody's tax dollars goes to running the government. A third of it's wasted on inefficiencies in the government. Another third is wasted on or uncollected, and then the last third, what is it? It's something, I don't know. It's third. It's like one escapes collection. The other third is that's it. 1/3 is escapes collection. 1/3 is consumed by wasted inefficiency, and the last third. Whatever. I'm tired of beating that horse. Anyway, not one penny of your tax dollars goes to running the government. It's all basically smoke and mirrors. Michael Evans, thoughts on registering kids as for an agent to avoid draft? So you can use a status declaration instead of registering, because whenever you register something, it is giving up control. Regis is king, so when you register or registrar or register something, you're giving up control. Anything you register to, like a state or a corporate state, you're giving up control. But there are exceptions to the hearsay to be able to enforce certain things. And my suggestion is to get true title over them if they are kids, depending on their age, and enforce that, because it's all about titles and claims in the public. And you can I have a video on title to kids, true title, trust, and stuff like that. I have playlists that can really help re-educate you, or you can DM me. But again, at the end of the day, it's all about what you can embody and enforce. Norm 1666 says to K. Vi trust bond is now attached to statute, surname, and family name. Yeah, that is some of the old foundational truths that we're all lost at sea. Back in the day when they were teaching the Great Fire, and basically everybody was declared dead and you had to come back to claim your estate. That is still somewhat in play today, but one of the best ways I know of is through the DTC, by claiming one of your Social Security bonds. Yeah, dude, Googling it is just claims from Patriot type of people. Yeah, the bar. So, True Seeker, again, you have to do your own math, okay? So if the U.S. didn't grant the Esquire their title of nobility, because the U.S. can't grant a title of nobility, it's not even allowed. Where did it come from? What does bar stand for then? What does bar mean if it's not a British accreditation register? Because they have to get a number, and where is that number registered to, and who authorized the title of it? This yeah, I could do some research and find you some harder knowledge or some harder evidence. Let's see, J. Michael, Evan Harris. It can't be forced. All they have to do is say no, thank you. I do not consent. Yeah, I think what they can do is put you in jail. I think they can put you in jail as the authorized representative citizen if they do a draft and you're fully capable and able. I don't know if they, I don't know if they do it. I think that's how they operate is what they would try to do. Norm, Black's Law Dictionaries of, yo, Vinny, what's up? How you doing? TGI Friday, 100%. It is a beautiful Friday. Absolutely, I'm loving it, guys. Please, if you want, catch a recap of this live on YouTube, audio on my Telegram group, all my social media is linked on my website. My website's linked on my profile page. My website is linked on my profile page as well. And it has, it's Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life. It has auxiliary information to help you on your path. I have created playlists to help re-educate you. You can DM me and email me, write me, or call me for equity on a case-by-case basis if you want additional assistance in any matters. Long Norm Staff, Promissory Notes, Bills of Exchange Act, 700 BCE 2024. When I re-listen to this live, it is going to be very interesting listening to all of the things that you're posting on here, Norm, because you are posting massive amounts of different good information. Anthony T, I like the Esquire being a title and capable of being issued by a constitutional restriction. Reasonable, yes. True Seeker, I started following you because of you debunking a lot of myths in the Patriot community. Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't honestly personally read something that says, other than what Patriots say, that a bar is a British accreditation register. I have always been taught that by some of my favorite teachers. I've always been taught that it's a British accreditation register, and I've also seen that a title of nobility cannot be granted by the U.S., and it is not allowed to hold any seat or public office. That was the first 13th Article and Amendment, and it's registered, and a lot of people I listen to, an attorney, their duties is to the public, okay? And you got to remember that everything that is in the public, like states, are all registered and given to the federal government over to the District of Columbia. And the District of Columbia basically funnels money to the Crown. It's all coming from the Crown. So because the U.S. citizen is sanctioned, or the state was sanctioned by the federal government, who's sanctioned by the District of Columbia, who is sanctioned by the British government. So, it's the U.S. citizen is an underwriter of a British. It's a British underwriter. The U.S. citizen is a British underwriter itself. And attorneys, their job is to attorn a U.S. citizen and fleece them back to the public. So it just is what it is. Like I said, some of these things are hard to find something written in trying to find in the codes, but I could try to find some of that stuff. Russell Messagill, when did the USA officially become a corporation? So the USA, any styled entity that is registered to do business as a president and treasury is a corporation. The USA has been a corporation since 17. Oh, dang! When did the government and the District of Columbia start? But the U.S. created in 1933. Everything went bankrupt, and that's when everybody had to hand over all the state's assets to the government. But I think it was formed before that. I have a video on the true history of the U.S. and when they created basically a fictional jurisdiction through the Security Administration and the Buck Act through all of the sovereign states. But I don't know the exact date that it was a corporation, but it was founded as a corporation to start with. Reasonable argument, Anthony. Yes. Anthony, and I feel like the bar and the meaning that they claim is one of those myths. I don't think it's a myth, and honestly, bar could mean something else, but I've always been taught from the beginning. I'm talking, this is going back 12 years, 10 years. I've always been taught that it is a British accredited registered entity to get that number, that bar number, because you have to have that number in order to be able to be an attorney. And like I said, the first 13th article and amendment, the first 13th article and amendment, they actually spent a lot of time coming in and burning all the courthouses and all that to try to get all the titles and all that stuff. And they did everything they could to get rid of the first 13th article and amendment. Truth Seeker, as there's nothing to say that it's true other than people's claims. Well, a lot of the stuff that I've put together in my head was from taking puzzle pieces from bits of all kinds of information. And at the end of the day, your truth is your truth. You could go in a court of law and enforce, if you had enough knowledge, that an attorney is not a bar agent. You could, and I could go in a court of law and enforce that it is. Because at the end of the day, what is true to you is true to you. What's true to me is true to me. And a lot of times I tell people I try to take a neutral path position, even though I might decide to take a position one way or other. I always open the door for any opposing information. For instance, have you seen any opposing information other than, people are just saying it? I just laid some pretty good groundwork for it being the position of why it's called that, considering all of our laws in the U.S. come from Britain. The U.S. is owned by Britain, and all the citizens are owned by Britain, and all the money is owned by Britain, and on and on and on. It is what it is. And trying to find all of that, even trying to find all the stuff I just said written down would be a pain in the butt. But you gotta do your own math and pick your own battles a lot of times. Norm Longstaff, capitals came in effect after second treatment on 033. Norm, I'm doing this in Canada. Full faith in credits, Article 8, investment securities, 100 million credits each of debt. Oh, that's interesting. 1931 District of Columbia bought Canada. Yeah, I've heard that, like the Australia and Canada and all that are basically registered in D.C. as businesses. Seeking Peace, can you speak on child custody or family court issues? I can, you got to ask the question. It depends on what it is. Norm Longstaff, Latin to Greek to English. Awesome. Norm Longstaff, the Queen is the head of all agriculture. The husbandry contract is certificate of live birth bond. Norm Longstaff, registrar is a custodian of minor estate of corporation shareholder. Norm Longstaff, Black's Law, Baby Act, Public Policy 7310. Take a drink of water. You are killing it, brother. I wish I brought my water over here. I don't have it with me, but my mouth is getting pretty dry. Norm, I'm suing $300 million. Oh, we're already an hour. I'm gonna try to get to the bottom and wrap up. U.S. citizen instrumentality not organized by you. Trust is self-declared entity, business trust. There are so many different types of trusts. There are public ones. There's constructive ones. There's basically living. What can you express for us, for you, the human? I think it's called a revocable living trust. They allow you to do a lot of stuff with the U.S. citizen to engage in contracts. Police for Article 9 and 10, no bill of attainder. Sounds like you're doing a lot. You create your own government. We can create our own currency. We can create two sovereigns can contract however they want, unlimited. They can transfer any kind of anything they want. It's when you start using entities that are registered or controlled by other people, or property that is registered or controlled by other people, it starts getting kind of fishy. There's strings attached to them. But if you hold true title to anything and you create your own sovereign trust and you're your own sovereign entity and you're contracting, you're able to do whatever you want. Just like a relationship with a girl. You can come up with any terms and conditions that you want from the beginning. You can say, I'll allow you to go out with your girlfriends once a week or whatever, or you can sleep with a guy only if, you wear protection, or, y'all can do whatever you want. Y'all are sovereigns. Veronica, yes, that's all. Norm, the Holy Bible states God is the most sovereign. Page 7, King James. Cops are sovereign citizens. Interesting. I've never heard cops as sovereign citizens, but a citizen is analogous to a subject. Vinny, I heard from an attorney that you can sign for an auto loan notice of subrogation. That's interesting. I've never heard that you can do that. Sunny in Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada. Russell Massagill, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, 30 minutes outside of here. Dang, broke due to the rain, and it's terrible. Oh, that sucks. Worse, I've seen it. Everybody is helping and pitching and gave me hope for me. And it's awesome. I have sometimes seen people help, and I've also seen people just turn a blind eye when people go off the side of the road or whatever. They just keep on moving, Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's there's been some terrible weather that's been going on recently for sure. 700 BC, British creamed medium of exchange. Created medium of exchange. Article 8, only Congress issued money and credits. Anthony, registering to vote, deposited your name to the jurisdiction of the registrar county. Okay, yeah, I was wondering about that. Dang, I'm real far behind. Norm Staff, the District of Columbia, 3000 BC. Asia, 700 BC, British 003, India, the District of Columbia. Revolution 25 V16 I don't know what is all this stuff. Rex is king, Queen is Regina. What is all that stuff? I haven't heard any of that stuff. Good night, Veronica. I hope you have a good night. I'm getting ready to wrap up soon. As soon as I get Siskiv I Trust Bond 96 code. Sharing is caring. Black's Law Dictionary Act, Bar, Justinian Code, Geneva, Switzerland. Yeah, there's so much stuff. Like again, you could get lost in the sauce. In the book Canada Deism, Canada was founded before the United States. Oh, that's interesting. Federal. Thanks again for all the gifts. Thank you, Russell, for all the roses. Your gifts will be used to help others. Much appreciated. Federal Reserve Act was written in 1913 on Jekyll Island. Yeah, I've heard about that. No, I like the way you broke it down, and it does make sense from the way you broke it down. Due process of elimination. Yeah, and that's honestly what you have to do, and the reason for that is because we're not in the Skull and Bones Society. We're not in the Illuminati. We're not taught all this stuff from day one or day two. Like, it took me 12, 13 years to put a lot of these pieces together. And I'm still learning. Like, I by no means am a master at all of this stuff. I'm just a good general knowledge, and I'm able to lay foundations. Like, lay simple foundations that you can build upon. That is, and always understand that the most important thing out there is your come from and your being, who you are. You know, not getting lost in the billions of codes and statutes because they're endless. You know, it's endless. You can, you know, if that's what you love and that's your passion, it brings you joy. Do what makes you happy in this life. And what is that song? You know, let your knee hit. Find the one you can't live without. Let your knee hit the ground. Pull out a ring or something, and then like find what you love to do and call it work. Something like that. It's a beautiful little song. Norm Longstaff, Alexa, how much is my life birth bond worth? Alexa, 100 million. Yeah, I don't know if each one of those bonds are worth that, or if, you know, because here in the U.S. they allow you 10 bonds, your Social Security bonds, in your lifetime, and I don't know what each one is worth. Robert Shaw, World War I, we had to buy bonds for the government to get into a conflict. That is what prompted the federal. Oh, interesting. Norm Longstaff, Island of Maine, Germany, 1006. Robert, if you go to the DTC and look up their statement on modern slavery, it'll fill in some blanks. Okay, I didn't know they had a. I have to look that up. DTCC. I can't even type. See, would you call it the statement? I can't type. On modern. Interesting. Depository Trust outlines the steps taken by the company to address modern slavery. Statements made on behalf of DC. That's cool. I'll check that out. Yeah, I understand what the lead to believe Spendthrift Trust. All right, I'm the lead to believe Spendthrift Trust is one of the best. Yeah, that is one of them. I mean, you can create trusts that aren't even written. You can create express ones, constructive ones. You can create sovereign ones. You can create simple ones. You can create trusts that are 10,000 pages long. Constitution is the trust. 14th Amendment. Citizen is your birth register. Vital statistics. Cool. DTC stands for Depository Trust Clearing Corporation. That's where all our security goes. Absolutely. True Seeker, I appreciate the breakdown as when analyzing the pieces and parts of foundation, meaning some things. Yeah, it takes time. You know, I'm not trying to say I couldn't find it. I'm just trying to say I haven't seen it written in a reliable source. That's what I've always been taught and told my whole life, and I have seen patriots say other people say it too. By the way, Vinny, with your restricted endorsement and they have to pay you back. Yeah, I'd be interested to see that if you have anything in writing or sources for that, Vinny, and it'd be very, very cool to look at. Norm Longstaff, call me anytime, brother. Absolutely. I don't know if you've DM'd me or not, Norm, but I'd appreciate chatting with you some. True Seeker, a lot of the conversations are really broken up as when run out of room in the comments and content. Yeah, I'm sorry that y'all are restricted on here. That's why if you DM me, you can put a lot more. You know, this whole thing is to try to reach people and to try to bring everybody into a light. And it's easier for me to talk instead of me making one video. Or, you know, if you call me, I can of course give consultations, but this is just like a mass free-for-all where I try to help everybody the best I can on a case-by-case basis. But it doesn't show up for you in the same order as when it was posted. What? A lot of conversations are really broken up as when run out of room in the comment. Norm. DTC Clearing Corporation. Yep. DTC owns both credit cards. C to come. Yep. Vinny, I do. Norm, Black's Law, 4611, Depository Trust Company. All right, I made it to the bottom. I didn't think I would. Anthony, it's cool. People must seek to find. Absolutely. And that's how this whole system works. Through your own efforts and your own volition, you can basically come to the realization, understanding that you are sovereign and you've been free. You're not the citizen. You're not you're the authorized representative that can use that. You don't have to. But if you're going to use that, just know that there's underlying strings attached and you can engage it in certain contracts if you want to. Vinny, thank you for the lightning bolts. Thank you all for the gifts. I love you guys. Thanks for coming out this Friday night. It's been an hour. I'm going to wrap up. If you want a recap of this live, it'll be on YouTube. Audio will be in my Telegram group. Feel free to DM me. You can email me, write me, call me. I have auxiliary information on my website, which is linked on my profile page of TikTok, including all my social medias, which are on my website. Feel free to reach out to me. It's all kinds of different ways. I appreciate all you guys. Feel free to DM me. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I thank you so much. I saw a video you posted one time walking, holding hands with a girl. She looks familiar to content. I was walking with one of my ex-girlfriends. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, the Turkish girl. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, guys, love you. Enjoy your Friday. Have a great weekend. Check out my content. I have playlists to help you. And if not, you can DM me, join all my social medias, and I'll see y'all later. Catch y'all next week. All right, bye.